Established in 1900, surviving 2 world wars and 1 cereal cafe, 3 generations have passed on the ownership.
Tone, 1 step breakfast!
Born upstairs, inside these very walls. Real Cockneys, a word often used but not often understood. Humour, charm, and of course, honesty. The food, well, it speaks for itself. Made with love and designed to fill. Join us in Ep.3 as we go down the Caff.
Okay, so thank you for coming in. We know who you are. Will you tell these lovely people what your name is and what you do?
I'm Róisín Murphy and I'm a singer and a songwriter and a general music artist.
You're looking lovely, Róisín. Thank you for
Beautiful,
coming
Róisín.
in.
Thank you.
Róisín, listen, we know you grew up in Ireland.
In Arklow.
Yeah, we can still hear your lovely Irish accent. Then you moved to Manchester, I think it was, when you were 12.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we do. We grew up in a caff. What are your memories of food growing up?
Well, my nana had a calf.
She?
Yeah.
In
So
Ireland?
I spent a lot of time.
What was it called?
Well, it was more of a chipper than this.
Yeah, proper.
It was called bumtaz.
Bum tags?
Bumtaz,
Like
yeah.
a tag on your bum?
Well, I don't know where it comes from, but we were the Bumta Kavnas, or my mother's side of the family were the Bumta Kavnas. There were a few
Brilliant
different
name.
kinds, different Kavnas in the town, and this was how you were known to be a Bumta Kavna. Anyway, so the place was called Bumtaz.
That sounds
I
fantastic.
think it was because my granddad first made a few quid by putting up a marquee, and he had bands playing the marquee, so he was a rave promoter back in the day, you
Wow,
know.
it was in your blood.
Yeah, so bumta. I think that's where it comes
Ah, bumta, not bum tag.
from. No.
Bumta. That's it.
That's funny because Nicola, my wife's from Ireland,
Yeah.
and her dad, where he's from, and he say, "Oh, we're the McShanes, but we're the Longfellow McShanes."
The Longfellow
And, yeah,
McShanes.
even though he's not that long, he's quite small, Christy. And then he'd say, "Oh, there's the other McShanes, like there's a different, oh, that's so and so McShane." But yeah, it's maybe an Irish thing.
Will you ask him why I married an Irish girl?
Why did you marry an Irish girl?
They're the dirtiest. No, because no, don't tell my father-in-law that. I'm only joking.
Well, we know how to
didn't
enjoy
let me-
ourselves.
She didn't
That's
even let me
different.
touch her leg till about the 3rd week. Old Nicola.
Christy will be watching
Yeah, no,
this.
because they're the best girls. They're good girls.
But that's
I
not,
love
was,
the
was
Irish
it
girls.
a chippy then, Róisín? Was it a chippy you said?
Yes, yeah, a chipper, you'd
A
say.
chi-
in Ireland.
okay.
Yeah, a biggish place, but yeah, the smell of grease and
Yeah.
the burgers.
can't
and,
beat it.
And in fact, I think my nana was the first person to bring hamburgers to that kind of whole area of
really?
Ireland, that sort of whole segment just below Dublin, and that. And the stories are when they first got the grill for the burgers and all, that the queues were just
can
down
imagine.
the street. You know, people came from all over to get
It's
me nana.
fancy food.
Get me
This is
nana
fancy
burgers.
food.
American burgers.
But when we go, I still love Nicola. We go to the Romas. A lot of the Italians come
Yes,
over to
yeah,
Ireland and set
yeah,
up the chippers
absolutely,
after.
yeah.
And we'll go. But my favourite thing to have in there is chicken curry, half and half chips, half rice. And the chippers do it the best chips. Like I love it.
Yeah.
He always makes me laugh about when he goes to Ireland, yeah? And he says sometimes they go for a roast, yeah? And they like their meat cremated, generally speaking, don't they?
The older lot,
Yeah,
the
the
older
older
lot.
lot. And he said they'll go for a roast beef, saying it's proper cremated. He said they'll be sitting there going, that's a beautiful bit of beef, this is that.
Beautiful.
And he says it's like rocking it.
Yeah, it's like chewing it. And Christy will go, it's a lovely bit of beef there. And I go, no, it's lovely, Christy.
Did you not ever get a bit of corned beef or
I love turkey and
bacon?
ham. Turkey and ham's my favourite.
Oh yeah, turkey and ham is
Turkey and
lovely.
ham when we got, a bit
You
of
never
bacon.
got the bit of bacon, the real
and
boiled
mashed-
bacon,
Yeah,
like.
proper. You can't beat it. It's so nice, that
The
real
cabbage.
home cooking with the cabbage and the mashed
I heard somewhere, I've heard you mention your Auntie Linda when it comes to boiled bacon.
That's exactly it.
I
She makes
love
the
your
best
Auntie
one.
Linda. I've got to
How do
say.
you don't know her
I've
fucking
seen her.
Auntie
You
Linda?
showed me the clips of your Auntie Linda.
My
I wanna-
mother does the ham, Linda
Yeah.
does the beef, the corned beef.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
and then you put the cabbage on top. That's
What's
when you
the
do
cabbage
proper-
on top at the end, yeah. The whole place stinks
We
of cabbage.
fancy, we want to meet your Auntie Linda, don't we?
Yeah, Auntie
We'd-
Linda.
she'd be
I was
grand in
hoping
here.
you were going to bring Auntie Linda
Oh,
tonight.
Jesus, she'd love it here.
She is blinding.
But I mean, she ran Bumthouse for, I don't know, 40 years.
I bet she
so-
had great banter with her
Oh,
customers
they
and that.
loved her, yeah.
That's-
She missed it, you know, when she stopped type thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's our
It's part-
favourite
that's-
thing, I think, because it's hard to do. Like, you don't... Oh, it's not like we look forward to going in and cooking every day and that. We love that. But our favourite thing, what keeps it, is meeting all the customers.
Talking.
And did you get to do any of that? Would you have had a little job in there or anything? You were too young then.
No, I would have been in there till late at night, you know, sometimes, because it was open till I think 10 o'clock at night, and they had all the video game machines in there as well. So yeah, I mean, I didn't actually have a proper job, but I remember being fascinated with the chipper, you know, you know, when you pull down,
Yeah.
the chips will come out of the potato, the chips will come out of the potato.
What did you call your chipper? Did you have a name for it?
What do you mean? The chipper?
We had what would we
Krypton
call our
machine.
chipper?
What do you mean?
We called it Mama.
Oh, yeah.
Our mum
So
cut all our
mum
chips by
literally-
hand.
Yeah, so she's 84. She's still in every morning, bless her. And she cut every chip by hand. And it's only a year ago we convinced her. We bought a fancy chip chopping machine.
Yeah.
Still clean all our potatoes and everything and take all the bits out. And like, what are her hands like, bless her? Yeah, with 61 years of cutting. They're not as good as her chips, to be fair, are they?
Never. Couldn't be. Couldn't
Best
be.
the machine cuts them. But did you notice a difference when you moved from Ireland to Northern England? So what was there a big change in the food scene then, or?
Well, I mean, there was all sorts of available things in Manchester that I would have
Yeah.
never tried, you know.
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course.
Thai food really springs to mind. I remember that being just a very novel taste, the whole way that's flavoured and everything. But initially we used to get curry from the Chinese.
Great.
Do you know? You'd go and get a Chinese curry,
Yeah.
which was weird. I don't know why that was the case, but it was very nice. It was very nice. It wasn't like curry, really, but it was nice.
Sweet.
Sweet stuff, yeah.
Over your chips.
Remember that, yeah.
But I've heard somewhere that you ate. That's why I got the ump when you said you
Yeah.
wanted minestrone, because you say, I eat everything.
I do eat everything.
Well,
Why did you want minestrone? You've had a
Because I
sausage.
don't get it.
You've had
I don't get a chance to get minestrone.
You had a poo
Stronies
sausage,
often
she
enough.
told me.
Tell him the story about the sausage with poo
Oh,
in it.
the andouillette sausage. Now, I will eat absolutely anything, and so this is part of my identity, really, in my own head, that I'll eat anything, anywhere, and, you know, try anything once type thing. And I was at this place in Paris, and I said, what's this andouillette to the waiter? And he said, oh, it's a sausage. I said, oh, yeah, give me that, I'll have that. He said, are you sure, madam? I said, what do you mean, am I sure? He says, you sure you want the andouillette? I went, just give me the thing. I want it, you know. Stop arguing with me. And he went off, okay, fine. He brought it back. And it was a big, thick sausage like that curling round the plate. Yeah, it looked absolutely delicious, all browned off beautifully. And I took the knife and I took the fork and I put the knife through it, and suddenly there was this massive smell of feces.
It actually smelt of poo.
The whole place smelled of poo. As soon as I put the knife in it and opened it, it was the most unbelievable smell to have sitting at a table.
And people would order it.
Yeah. What was it then? Why did it? What
Because when you went into it, you could see all it was folded intestines. And the idea is that
and
they
they
don't
eat that.
wash the intestines
Right.
too well, you see,
Right.
because this is the flavour that they like. I went green, I tried, I
surprised.
tried to eat some, I couldn't.
You're
have
good.
it.
I
And then
wanna-
it was like, pushed it away, you know, and he came over and he was laughing.
Ah.
Yes,
Oh my
madam, you
gosh.
did not like
How much did you
it.
fucking pay for it?
I know, he was really cool, because he got such a good laugh out of it. He went, I will get something
that
else for you,
restaurant do?
choose something
Another
else.
one's ordered the shit sausage.
You must be starving, Roisin.
Must be
I am
starving,
starving.
Roisin. We're going
gonna
to
go and
bring
get
you
you
out a feast.
a feast.
What do
There's
you
not-
want, or do you want us to just make you
Just
something?
throw anything here.
Right, we are going to bring you out some lovely stuff.
Don't forget the
and there'll be
potatoes.
spods.
Oh,
There'll be lots of
lovely.
spods. Don't worry
Can't go
about that.
wrong with a
fried.
spud.
to start you with a little bit of Mama's homemade steak
She
pie,
made this
Róisín.
this looks lovely.
All the pastry and all homemade.
And then we've got you a little bit of Italian.
Penne pellicci, that's got our homemade
Okay, I won't
pesto,
starve.
tomato, everything
Then we
in
won't
it.
leave you without no spuds.
Sports Toodles.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And we've
Twice
heard
cooked.
you are mad for a fried egg.
Oh, yeah,
Cooked in butter.
Splat
We got you them fancies, you know, in the black and gold shiny box and whatever. Yeah.
And you can't have your pie without a bit of gravy.
Oh, come on.
Shall I put it on for you?
Yes. Bloody lovely.
Well, I put a little bit of Parmesan on this for you, Róisín.
Yeah, go on.
Lovely, look at that.
Ragu.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the Italian.
You grew up more really, you went to Manchester, didn't you? When you grew up, were you 12 when you were in Manchester?
Well, I moved when I was 12, yeah.
Yeah,
with
and
the
there was a
family.
massive, because I remember there's a year between us, and I remember I went to Leeds Uni to do a degree in music, but I only stayed
you?
a week, because I didn't really do a degree in music. Stayed for a
Kicked
week.
her.
But I remember a lot of my
They
friends
found her
wanted...
drugs.
Found all my drugs. Stuffed up my waff name. No,
Did
not
you get
really.
excluded? You had to
no,
get
I
There was
I
3
was
keys
scared.
up there.
I was rubbish. I was always scared of that. I was a Malibu and pineapple kind of girl, and that was about my lot. But a lot of my friends, I remember at the time, wanted to go to Manchester because there was massive music, the hacienda and all of
Yeah.
that kind of stuff, massive music scene. So did that influence you a lot?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we all went as a family, obviously, when I was 12. And my mum and dad broke up when I was 15. And it was a bit of a nuclear sort of breakup. It was a big one. And it took a good few years for things to settle down after that. And they went their different ways. And I stayed in Manchester at that point. And the reason why I didn't go back home to Ireland with my mammy was because they were all into heavy metal.
Oh, really?
In Arklow, and I just couldn't.
Oh, really? That weren't for
No, I
you?
can't do heavy metal right now.
That was like in the village. They used to have like AC/DC and all that over the
Mad for it.
tractors.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why that was. Whereas in London, I suppose like Manchester City, it's like a different scene.
No, I was like, at that point, I was just getting into clubs, but I was really into bands and going and see live bands, and I was into things like Sonic Youth and, you know, more underground, more alternative rather than heavy metal. Yeah.
Bunnymen, The Cure.
So it's very
Jesus
sharp.
and Mary
Jesus
Chain
and Mary
used to listen
Chain.
to.
I love the Mary Chain. They were one of my favourites.
I remember Anna had all the albums, and she'd make me like the music that she liked because I couldn't listen to
I went
nothing
through
else.
an indie scene, yeah.
And she'd put me into, she'd make me listen to all these bands, like which were great, but I went into that. But afterwards, I was. I liked
And then Bruna
The
grew up with a
Cure.
lot of soul and R&B, so we grew up listening to everything, didn't we?
And then I liked my jungle drum and bass when I started going out. That was me. I was into all that sort of stuff.
Well, I was more into like the R&B and that sort of stuff
That's what I like,
than the
R&B and
rave.
soul.
I didn't really get into rave stuff.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Sheffield.
Oh, okay.
And Sheffield has its own music scene, very, very unique as well. And it just seems like all the best friends I've ever had have something to do with me and music or the music scene. And somehow being into music has kept me just into it, not as a trying to be a singer or a musician or anything, just really, really into it, has made sure that I've known really nice people somehow all through the years, you know.
Because it can be a bit of a dodgy industry as well, the music, can't
Well,
it?
I'm not really talking about the industry. I'm talking about the sort of like meeting other people who are really into music.
Yeah.
The vibe.
Yeah, you know.
Brings
people-
you together.
people in clubs and people who were then before that into these kind of weird bands and so on. They were always like, I made great friends like that, friends that lasted for life, you know, and having like things that you're really interested in that aren't emotional things or bitchy things or, you know, it's like we're into music
Yeah,
together.
you're all
Type
just
things that
enjoying it.
you can fly through life a little
of
bit
course.
like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. The
That sort of
vibe.
saved me in a way.
Yeah.
And it really gave me, even at that age, at 15, I knew where I wanted to be and who I wanted to be around. And
That's young, isn't it?
Yeah.
You stayed on your own, Róisín.
I did, yeah.
So how did you do that?
Well, I stayed with my friend's mum
Right.
first for a few months until I turned 16. And then I got a flat, actually. I got my own flat.
Really?
Outdoor toilet.
Wow.
in a house,
Yeah.
a mad
Yeah.
house, but it was...
Sharing with other people.
Well, I had my own space,
Yeah.
but yeah, there was a few people in the house, and I shared the bathroom.
Right.
And
would you have been friends with any of them, or like did you
there was
know
a woman
someone?
who kind of was looking after it for the old woman who owned these two houses that were next to each other, and she was lovely, the old woman who initially had rented the place to me. And I only rented it because she had a semicircular orange sofa in there, like that was
It
like
was
from
really
the
cool.
70s or whatever. I
Yeah.
thought it was really cool, but it was disgusting actually. But I got totally independent, and yeah,
Wow.
I mean, nowadays it wouldn't be possible. Nowadays, I think you can't get housing benefit until you're a good bit older than that. But they gave me housing benefit, and they gave me a few quid to live on, and I finished my A-levels.
Oh, did you? Up there? Because that's hard enough anyway.
I did.
What did you get your A-levels in, Róisín?
Oh, well, not really. Art, theatre studies and media studies, which was a new
So
thing
that was
then.
always, that was in your, like, the art and the theatre and that. That's like what you do, you perform and it come in good in the end.
Yeah,
It's
it
like-
did come good in the end,
Do you know what I mean?
absolutely.
It was like a good thing.
But I was very dyslexic, so I think that's more why I veered towards those sorts of things, because I could do well in them, in those sorts of things. But not that I did that well, but I didn't get great
You done
grades
fucking
or
all-
anything.
you done all right.
No, I mean like
Yeah, in the school.
in the school part of it. But
Did you enjoy it?
I loved having my little flat. I mean, I really loved having my little flat, and I loved having me mates come round.
I was going to say, you must have been like the coolest girl
Well,
at college. Like,
you know, and
you must have had like the party.
My mates' mums all, you know, worried about me and brought things round and gave me stuff to stock
Yeah,
the
people
kitchen
there.
and
Were they Irish or like Sheffield?
Jewish family that were very good to me. That I used to go there every weekend, and they'd feed me and mind me for the weekend, and I'd almost be fed enough to last the whole week.
whole
You know what,
week.
isn't that,
That's
isn't that
nice,
great
though.
though?
Yeah.
Isn't that such a lovely thing that other people, and they probably were worried about you and keep a little eye on you.
They were great, and yeah, and they stocked my kitchen with the pots and pans and bits and bobs when I moved in. But yeah, I was on my own, you know. I was on my own, but I always think of the government believed in me in a certain kind of a way, you know, that Social
But we had
Security
more
believed
backing
in me.
then,
They
though, didn't
backed
we?
me. They
'Cause
believed that I
like,
could be
yeah,
independent.
But even to go to uni and stuff like that, and I've spoken to people before about, like in London, I was telling you I did music, but we had a thing called the ILEA, the Inner London Education Authority, and regular kids like us, we got to try out whether it was the piano. I played the clarinet and piano.
Yeah.
We got to, and 9 out of 10 of them would probably drop out of it, but 1 or 2 of you, if you were good at it, enjoyed it,
Yeah.
we went on to do fabulous things with them. Do you know what I mean? But now, unless you got that.
Right, Róisín, you've done really well, hasn't she?
You've not done too, but we've
Oh,
given her a
it
lot
was
of food.
delicious,
We'll wrap it
though.
up for you to
This
take home,
pie
Róisín.
was mwah.
Thank you. I'll tell my mum,
just
Róisín.
like a mum that used to make.
fucking fancy eggs with the golden yellow
Oh,
box and
sorry.
you wasted it.
Because I've had 3 eggs today
All right, I'll let
already.
you off.
I thought I could smell something. Róisín.
So, Róisín, we're talking about, you know, you growing up with the music scene up north and everything.
Yeah.
And then you started, well, how old were you when you started the group Moloko?
I was just turned 20, I think.
I didn't realise you were that young when you started.
Yeah. Felt old by then, obviously, because I'd been looking after myself for a few
Yeah, I suppose
years
you have been,
already.
yeah. That's when most of us are just leaving home. Well, not nowadays, they've got to be 45.
I wasn't
but
old, obviously,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
you're a
felt like-
baby.
And that changed your life.
Yeah, totally changed my life. I met a fella in Sheffield and I fell in love with him, and his name was Mark Bryden. And he was an experienced, proper music producer, great musician as well. And he had built, with some other friends, a big studio called Fon Studios in Sheffield. He had a whole history before he met me. He was 33 and I was 19 or 20 when I met him. And
They know you're around here, Róisín.
and I met him in a party, and I was talking shite that night, and I was going around going,
Had a
I had a
few.
tight sweater on, and I was going, I do like my tight sweater, see how it fits my body. And
Is
I
that a
kept saying
line? Do
this
you like my
thing.
tight sweater?
Yeah, and I chatted him up with it, and he was like, I do actually, and he took me to his big studio in the middle of the night.
Showed
Showed me all his equipment.
Did he show you his microphone?
And he got me to say it. Yeah, so it was just me saying stupid stuff on his tracks for a bit, you know, while we started the relationship. It was just for fun. And I had no clue that I was going to make music for a living. I thought I'd do something visual. I thought I'd do, even from when I was a little kid, I thought I was going to be an artist or a designer of some kind, an interior designer. I thought for a good long while I was pretty obsessed with this book my ma had, which had all these interiors in them, and I wanted to be an interior designer. But so I knew I'd do something creative, but I didn't think I'd do music. And I kind of went into it thinking, I'm doing something creative, I'm not really doing music, because I was just talking and just being a bit different, you know. He'd just come out of a situation where he made an acid jazz style record with all these proper musicians, proper singers, everything done properly. And he put it out on acid jazz label. And they hadn't cleared one of the samples, and it got deleted almost immediately. He spent like a year making it.
Wow.
And that was all to my benefit in a way, because he sort of really embraced this ad hoc kind of daft, mad ideas, not a proper singer, you know, idea that Moloko was initially. Because
you got a lovely voice.
You've got a gorgeous
but
voice.
I didn't really start singing until we were actually signed. We signed the deal, and it was all stuff where I was like acting and pretending to be like a valley girl and
So it was like a whole performance.
performative
sort of thing. It was like
more,
got
yeah.
you.
And also, I thought maybe my role was more like, don't do that, it's not cool, you know, or you know, like, let's do this instead and be into this instead and be weird and be different, and so I didn't really see myself at all as a singer. And then we were down in the record company one day, and there was a tiny bit of a snippet of singing, and thankfully there was an American fella who was really vivacious personality, American personality, at the label at that time, and he dragged us into his office, and he was like, I can hear her sing, she's gonna be able to sing, and he's like, played us this little snippet. He's like, that shit's like Nina Simone, man, you gotta get her to sing.
Oh, really?
And all this, we were really embarrassed. And but it went in, and we went up to Sheffield, and sometime after that we did the first song type thing where I was doing a bit of singing, and he coaxed it out of me, and he was, as I said, very experienced, and he must have seen something in me that I didn't even know was in me.
A star.
He didn't want me to be a star, you know, either, I don't think.
Right.
Because we were in love, you
Right.
know, so it was much more like, that's not how it was about. It was more about, we'll do something that other people aren't doing, we'll do something, we'll make in terms of what he could see in me, he could see that I wasn't a proper singer, you know, that maybe was better in a way, and
Maybe you hadn't been trained in a certain way, so he could almost not veer you, but
or that what came out was much more spirited, you know, than if I had been trained or gone to stage school and all that, which he had been dealing with, you know, people like that for a few years, and I think he embraced it. I was lucky, very lucky that he did, because he really taught me a lot. But he embraced it on that kind of level, like, not that we're creating a pop star, not that we're creating this or that or the other, it's just we're going to have like loads of fun doing this, and we're making music, and we knew we were making music that just didn't sound like anything else that was around at the time.
And when did you realise then that it was something special, something different? You know, I mean, when was the first kind of?
Well, during the, you know, when we were signed, even before I even started to sing, I knew there was something. We knew it didn't sound like anything that was around at that time. We knew that it was, because once we'd put the album out, which was obviously maybe a year after that, there became, pretty soon after we put the record out, this thing called trip hop. Don't know if you remember this phrase, trip hop, this idea. But there wasn't that when we were making the music, and we did fit into this new mould, this sort of idea of trip-hop, but there wasn't any trip-hop when we were making the record. So we really felt like whatever you want to say about it is different, you know. And, you know, some of his mates in Sheffield, even the guy that I made a record with a few years ago, Parrot, who I made Róisín Machine with, was like, what are you doing, Mark? She's mental there. You know, why are you getting involved with her? But we would never play anything to anyone while we were making it. He was very much like, the idea was, if you played it to all these people before you finished it, it takes the magic away, you know? And so nobody knew what we were up to. They just knew we were up to something.
Yeah.
And but in the meantime, they all thought he'd lost it, and he was having a near midlife crisis with this mad Irish bird, you know.
Was you a little bit mad, Róisín?
They thought I was, yeah. They thought I probably was.
Why was you a bit wild, like going out and that?
Yeah, going out, and I had a skinhead, and you know, I used to wear big red boots and.
Because I remember when I went out with Nicola, and she was great fun, yeah, and her friends. But I remember I was at one party, and she come past with some drink and it was green, and I was like, what's that? She said, I don't know, the girls have made it for me. And it was like heart party, and then she was like, it was just fun, a lot of fun, but she was just good.
They used to say, they told me afterwards, people that I knew through him, they told me afterwards, we used to think that you were putting that walk on, you know, because I kind of walk like a cowboy or something, you know, which is not the way I walk. And they used to think I was putting it on, you know, but then they realised that that's actually what I'm like, you know. But they were a bit like, she's mad, what you doing? And then when we finished the record and they all heard it, they were like, okay, fair enough, actually, this is interesting, you know.
Is this
it was a nice feeling.
Is this Sing It Back?
No, this was an album called Do You Like My Tight Sweater? Which was named after the chat-up line, yeah.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, that was our first album. No, Sing It Back didn't happen until the third album.
Did that change your... Because life had changed from being living on your own, 20-year-old, met this fella, fall in love.
Yeah.
So your life's changed loads already.
Yeah.
And then when you hit that song, it must have like I don't know.
It didn't feel like that.
Did it not? Because it was just like, it was everywhere. I remember it was like everywhere.
Because we stayed in Sheffield, for starters, and nobody gives it to you in Sheffield.
Yeah, in Sheffield it was like a little...
So take it as it comes, you know. And most of the people that we know had hit records sometimes, you know. And during times where dance music was a lot younger even than Sing It Back, which felt like ages after it all started. But now, you know, as time goes by, it's sort of nearer the beginning, you know. But I guess they lived through a time where this dance music was really just seen as novelty music. It wasn't seen as album music. It wasn't seen as live music. It was like when it was new and fresh and everything. It was a bit like just having a novelty hit, you know.
Was that a bit upsetting for you?
No, not that Sing It Back was like that, because it was real song, you know.
Because your version especially is a bit more... Because I used to like my drum and bass and that.
Yeah.
So I maybe wouldn't have been into the Moloko as much back in the days.
Yeah.
It was a bit more... When it came out, the remix version.
Yeah.
But your actual version was a bit more...
Yeah.
I don't know, it was a bit more grittier sort of thing than the
Boris Dlugosch.
The Boris Dlugosch
remix,
one, which more people would...
And also, that's also why it didn't feel like we took off, you know. It felt like Sing It Back took off, you know, because it was a remix. And even the video was me all covered in mirrors and effects, and... You know, I was like a doll in a jewellery box, you know, sort of spinning around. And that's not me, you know. And so I never went through a period where I couldn't go to spa, you know, or to supermarket. Anyway, it didn't feel like... I don't think I've ever felt like I've made it. Never.
But when I told my Nicola, I said, I said, Róisín, and Nicola was like, Róisín Murphy. She was like, yeah, no, she was
There
saying...
are some birds knocking
you know
around
what,
who think
what I was-
something
no,
of me.
No, you are. And anyone I've said to, they're like, Róisín, wow, she's great. Like,
I
even a
think
lot
that's
of-
it, because we were saying as well, like you're a little bit younger than me, but to see you up there doing what you do, you're still so current. You look amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great boost for the rest of us girls. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
like
not like
my
one of
little
these
girls.
17, 18. You're proper rocking it. You're a proper icon. And that is seriously for like the rest of us, because you know, like all other bits and pieces you go through. It's like, and you look beautiful, you look fabulous, and you do what you do brilliantly.
My little Elder's
you're a
always
role
singing.
model. Do you know you were saying the song was remixed?
Yes.
And when how did you feel that? Was that? Did you think like, oh, great that they've done that, or did you feel a little bit? How did you feel about that when no?
Well, I mean, it was my idea to have it remixed,
Oh, was
right?
it?
Because when I come back from, I'd gone to New York and I'd stayed there for 6 weeks with a friend, and I'd gone to every club going. And it was a massive eye-opener for me, because Moloko actually, I'd been into sort of house music and so on, in the late 80s and the early 90s. And by then, when we came to meet in 94, for both of us, and Mark had actually made very early house records, UK house records and stuff, and had hits with them. By then, we'd already started to think, oh, so it's all going downhill, this thing, and it's not very interesting anymore. It's all become very main room, and it's all starting to sound the same. And so Moloko was actually kind of reaction against what we called four on the floor, in a kind of disparaging way. We reacted against that. We were like, no, beats can be more interesting and blah, blah, blah. But then when I went to New York and I went to all these clubs, and I kind of went back to the source of it, I actually heard quite a few DJs who were there right at the beginning of it and in the inception, as they say, of it, and inventing it. And it was a massive education for me and really eye-opening for me. And I'd gone to an amazing party called Body and Soul, which was my favourite. And that was a Sunday all-dayer type thing. And that's the only club to this day that I've been to on my own a good few times.
After church. After church.
It was like
She went to
church.
church. After
They
church,
say it
in
was
the
like
way,
church.
and she went,
After
like,
the church.
that was your church.
That was church in a
That
way,
was
yeah.
like, that's where you was.
That's certainly
getting your-
the vibe that was, you got off it. And there was the audience as well. The people who went were people who'd been going to clubs for 15 years as well. And so they would have been there at the very beginning of this whole thing. You
Was
know?
the New York scene a lot different to like the Sheffield scene?
Yeah,
So you,
well,
like,
it
was it like the people you must have met in New York?
It was like finding the source, you
Right.
know. At that time, I don't
Yes.
think it's like that now, but at that time it was. And it was around that time that Masters at Work were doing New Eureka Soul as well, which was this sort of beginnings of a kind of retrospective of the house scene and the dance music scene, and sort of, it's an Americana kind of vibe, and all its Latin influences and everything else. So I went to a lot of their parties as well, which was all very eye-opening. And I came back really invigorated for house music, and I said, please do me a house beat. And it was the first song we wrote for that album, and it was over a house beat. And then eventually we carried on making this record, and we didn't do any more house. And Mark kind of retrospectively sort of rolled back the kind of that aspect of it in the mix that we put in the album in the end isn't really going that far that way. He tried to make it so there is that DNA in it, but it fits with the rest of the record. And so I always felt like it was a bit of a missed opportunity. So at the time, a lot of people were having hits with remixes. And I thought we could do something similar with Sing It Back. And I asked the label to get some mixes done, and they got Todd Terry to do a mix of it. And it was a fine mix, but it didn't feel really special. And Boris Lugosz asked the German label, could he do this mix? And it was called On Spec. And that means that they just try it, and if you like it, then you can talk about what the situation is. And this thing came in the post to me on a CD, and I put it into the CD player, and I swear to God, I knew it was a hit the minute I heard it.
You can't not move to it.
I was just like, I could
Wicked
see
tune.
myself on top of the pops. I saw it like as if it was like a
I miss Top of the
hologram
Pops.
in the living room, you know.
Yeah. Miss Top of the Pops, 7 o'clock on
But
a
I just
Thursday.
knew it was going to be something.
It was brilliant. I remember my son coming to me, Fabio, going like, Mum, listen to this tune. I was like, what do you mean? That tune's like X amount of years old, but that's what's so...
Yeah.
It will never, ever, ever get old.
No, it doesn't.
You didn't go and shout, Mac, why didn't you fucking do this mix here? Why didn't you do a fucking mix like that?
I think maybe I was a tiny bit more gung-ho about it than Mark was, for obvious reasons. But you know, he let it on, as they say.
He let it on.
Of course he did.
Well, thank God he did.
Yeah, I mean, it changed a lot of things for us. It gave us a lot of energy with the live thing. You know, to have 1 or 2 songs where everyone knows it at festivals and so on.
Yeah, unbelievable.
It makes a difference. It makes a big difference.
You're saying you've met all these people, you've worked with all these people. Is there any one person or one group of people that have really influenced you? And then is there anyone on the other end that you'd really potentially like to work with one day?
I love dub reggae, you know. I'd love to do something more in that world one day. I love Moody Man, who did a remix for me on the last album. Love him, would love to work with him more. I love some Germans called Basic Channel.
Sure, you love some Germans.
Rhythm
I love
and
some
sound.
Germans.
Some Germans.
I love some Germans.
I love these
Not the rest of them.
some Germans. No, I mean, but I don't, as I heard somebody say on the internet yesterday, I think, I thought it was very wise, don't network up, network sideways, which is really the way I do things as well, which is like, they're there, the people I work with, you know?
Yeah.
They tend to gravitate either to me or I gravitate to them, or I just reach out and, you know, Stefan was there, Cozy, on the last album. He was there, you know, I'd done a couple of tracks for his album. Even Sing It Back, you know, it wasn't like we reached out and begged Boris Lugosh to do it. It was Boris Lugosh really felt he had a vision for that song, you know. So you don't have to force things to make things happen. It should happen. Everything that I've done happened naturally, you know. As I've just told you, even the start was like, "Do you like my tight sweater?" It was.
Yeah, it just
it
happened.
wasn't trying.
From that beginning there, like his tight sweater, Moloko, and then that came to an end, didn't it?
You give him the old
And then,
Evo.
Yeah, gave him the old Evo.
You thought I could get myself an Italian fella now.
Oh, give over. That was years to come.
Sheffield, I can get rid of you.
Fucking egg and chips every night, a proper fella. But then you started on a solo career. How was that? To make that decision, were you kind of forced to make a decision because you kind of, you know, that chapter of your life ended?
Yeah.
Were you nervous to make it? Were you, how did you feel about it?
It was a bit sideways, you know. It was like Matthew Herbert had done some remixes for me. I'd met him, and I'd sang with him while he was DJing in The End. Do you remember that club, The End? I'd done that one night with him. And and this was years before, and I remembered him saying to me, one day me and you will make a record together, you know. And then he was calling me suddenly after the end of Moloko. And I hadn't a clue what to do, and I wasn't looking to do I wasn't looking for a way to do it. And he was calling me, and I was going out with this DJ fella, Johnny Rock, who was brilliant. And I wasn't sort of like calling him back, Matthew. And he was like, "Are you mad?" One day he just got me and went, "Are you mental, Róisín? You ring him. That's Matthew Herbert we're talking about." This was that was it. And I rang him and I went down to Brixton one day and we did a tune, and then I went another day and we did a tune, and within 2 or 3 weeks we had all the tunes written. And then it was again like Moloko, where it was from A to Z, you know, just the two of us. Yeah. Although he brought in musicians, sometimes Moloko would bring in musicians as well. We brought in a brass section into that first album that I made. It's called Ruby Blue, with this guy Matthew Herbert, who works in a very specific way, in a way where he has these rules, like I don't use presets, you call it, like sounds that are already in a synthesizer that you buy.
Right.
So he's like a genius on the sampler, and he would record all kinds of sounds. I used to have to bring objects in from my home and make sound out of that, and then he would sample it, and he could make that into what sounded like synth sounds and stuff like that. Now I brought like hairspray and hair dryers and ornaments and
would it sound good? Like you must have thought he was a bit mad when he was doing it, and then
sound amazing within a minute. Within like a minute, it was like because firstly it sounds totally unique to its time and place, and the whole energy that's in the room, that's in the acoustic, is in every single sound, you know. And also, it was my first solo album. I was petrified. I was absolutely petrified that I wasn't good enough without Mark. I'd never done anything significant without Mark before, and in the safety of Sheffield and away from any pressure and all that. But then this was almost like he took a magnifying glass to everything about me, you know, and he recorded every sound about me.
So did that album feel more like special to you?
It's a very special album.
I was going to say
it is a very special.
Were you going home at night and like and trying all the different the toilet flush?
What am I going to do tomorrow?
What can I use tomorrow?
But you're not Róisín, you're not just a musician, you're an artist. Yeah. She was saying when you started off, it was like a little bit of everything, like theatrical, a little bit. But you are, I mean, you look amazing tonight. You look like you've just thrown that on and you look fabulous. You've made it look super easy. But you are a style icon, and some of your outfit changes and that I've seen you like on stage and that, it's like amazing. Where did that influence come from?
Well, I mean, I loved it even as a child, honestly. I loved clothes as a child, and I loved dressing up as things, you know, and playing characters and roles with
that with his missus.
L.I. I don't want to know.
Gets the microphone.
But, you know, even as a kid, and I used to go and raid my Auntie Linda's wardrobe because she kept everything from the 60s.
Oh, yeah, I want to see
but it's all gone. I rinsed it.
Oh, did you?
I did. Totally rinsed it.
Yeah, right and all.
But yeah, no, I always loved it. I always loved clothes. I didn't have an awful lot of them growing up. We didn't spend a lot of money on stuff like that, but I was very creative about that sort of thing, always.
That's lovely.
Because some of your outfits, some of your outfits, they're very like Grace Jonesy-esque or whatever. Like, were they influences for you? Or
Grace Jones was definitely an influence, yeah. I mean, I saw her, I was pretty far into the Moloko thing when I first saw her live. I went on a little trip. Actually, it was after Moloko. It was right at the beginning of my solo career. I went on a little trip to Italy to Florence with a girlfriend, and she happened to be playing there that weekend. And we went and we met the guys who put on the show and everything, the promoters. But you know, it was amazing to me to see someone be able to have so much drama about them, with not that much, with like one or two lights done very cleverly, with a set of stairs. That's her thing. She loves the set of stairs, and with the clothes that she wore and that she changed every now and again, the hat or the cape.
She had a very strong look though, just even her face.
Everything. She's born to wear clothes. But that sense of there's not explosions going on. There isn't 55 million lights on there. There isn't it's her, and it's, you know, she'll just change into a cape and get a bit of wind, and the whole place feels different. The whole mood changes, you know. And I definitely was influenced by that. Yes.
So how many changes have you done in a show? Have you done like crazy amount of changes?
Sometimes too much. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, a few years ago, it was out of control. I don't know, it was some kind of mental health problem that I had.
With clothes?
Yeah, well, it was like, I like that, I have to wear it. I like that, I have to wear it. I like that, I have to wear it. I like these masks, this hat, these shoes. And, you know, it actually was a time when it was getting in the way. And getting the balance right is hard, you know. And I do the styling myself. and I don't know where it's going when I start it. When I start to collect the things for a show, I'm not really have no idea where it's going to end.
Do you keep it, Róisín? Do you keep all the clothes?
Yes, I kept
so where
most
do you
of it.
keep them?
Oh Jesus, my house! If
I
there's
was
ever a
gonna
naked
say,
flame
every
in my
cupboard.
house.
I'm like,
Stop.
I've got that much cupboard space left
No,
now,
honestly,
Róisín, with all the girls.
it's
That's
like
all
a
that's
hoarder's.
mine. Everything else is Nicola's and the girls.
It's a hoarder. It's a hoarder's house. The one here in
But
London.
you must, is everything special to you? Like, you think, oh, do
is.
the costumes, oh, that costume reminds me of that show or that time.
It cost a bob or two, and
And they
almost.
cost a bob or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cost a bob or two. Of course they do. And would you have things made up for you, or would it all be things that you've just
I've had
seen?
a few
And
things made, yeah. I've
would
had a
people
few
come to you and
things.
say, Róisín, like, I want
Yes.
you to wear this?
Yes, yeah.
And you take some of it and chuck it in the bin, or do you keep
I try
it?
not to take it I try not to take it if I'm
you're
not
not
going to
gonna
wear
wear
it.
it.
Yeah.
That's
But
brilliant.
I wear it eventually if I've taken it.
So, Róisín, if you could put anything on the Culinary menu for next time you come in,
Like a home comfort.
like a home comfort, that
I
you
know what
really
it's going
love,
to be. I know what it's going to be.
what would it be?
Well, the cotoletta would be nice.
No,
It's her choice. She
Yes,
can't
sorry.
fucking choose what she
I was
wants.
going to say Auntie Linda's Irish stew.
No,
make
she
a
doesn't
love-
do Irish
no,
stew.
she don't do
She
the-
makes the she makes the
Oh, you
lovely
did
Christmas
tell me
pudding.
she makes. All right.
She makes the Christmas
like a
pudding.
Christmas pudding.
My mum makes the cake,
So
the
all
Christmas
right.
cake.
What would it be?
Well,
She told you,
I told you the
cotoletta.
cotoletta, but the
It's definitely
cotoletta
the
on it,
cotoletta.
And
yeah.
do you want it with a spaghetti, or do you want it just with some
no,
little
it's
crispy roast potatoes
crispy roast
we'll have a
potatoes
and a little
spaghetti
salad?
piña.
Or...
and chopped cherry tomatoes.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Róisín.
Róisín, thank you so much. We've had such a lovely
me
It's
time.
been lovely. Thank you.
Loved it.
Yeah,
Lovely.
thank you, Róisín.
Róisín.
I thought it was lovely. Oh, Róisín, was that you under the table?
Oh!
Hey!
I say.
Hey everyone, if you enjoyed that little clip, then make sure that whatever platform you watch it on, subscribe, follow us.
And make sure that you follow @DanTheCaff on Instagram and all your socials. Spread the love.
Tag us, spread the love.